A little bit of background for tonight. SVIVAH has been creating beautiful and powerful Torah learning conversations around issues that are important in our lives as Jewish women for 5 years now, which is kind of crazy to me. This Hanukkah was actually SVIVAH's 5th anniversary, which is like totally bonkers. But as we created these beautiful Her Torah spaces of Jewish learning, in our reflecting and learning from them, we realized that two things were missing. We recognized how, sometimes the topics that we were covering needed more room for conversation, more and deeper exploration from different fields, different perspectives, and an opportunity for your voices, your real lived experiences to show up in these conversations and to really elevate the wisdom in the room. So we started experimenting with particular topics like standing up against sexual harm and deep forgiveness. And we created two programs that kind of spoke to each other. They weren't the same, but they informed each other and deepened the learning, and also what we were able to take away from the topic and from each other. So tonight is one of those conversations. Just last week, we learned from 3 magnificent Torah educators who shared Torah that spoke to them in this moment of navigating anti-Semitism. But we knew that there was so much more that deserved time and light. And so here we are. I really want to thank Rabbanit Dalia Davis, who is our new director of pastoral education, who created tonight's conversation with so much thoughtfulness and care. She really created a journey for us tonight. It's a space where we can show up with what we're holding, but also move with it and move it through us in the company of tonight's beautiful teachers. I am so grateful to her, and it's just an absolute gift. This is one of the perks of my job, that I get to sit at the feet of Rabbanit Dalia and Rabbanit Eliza, who many of you know, or if you don't, come back and meet her, and listen to how they build a room with such care and compassion for their students. They absolutely leave me awed, and I want you to know that they think about each one of you, no matter if they know you or they don't. They think and try to take into consideration every single possible life story and life experience, just to make sure that everyone in our SVIVAH rooms feels seen and welcomed and valued. I want to thank the Covenant Foundation and the Aviv Foundation, who remind us every day that they believe in the importance of this beautiful work that we're doing. And I want to thank Sarah Allen, a member of SVIVAH's board, who sponsored tonight's gathering in honor of her father's yahrzeit. Rabbi Danny Allen was a community builder and a soul holder. And despite this being a No Boys Allowed space, we are honored to welcome his neshama, his soul, in here with us tonight to celebrate his memory, which lives on so brightly in his incredible daughter. Thank you for sharing your dad with us, Sarah. I would love to know what you think he'd have to say about SVIVAH. I want to remind all of us what we're here for tonight and what we're not here for. Tonight is not a space for politics. There are plenty of spaces for those conversations, and this is not one of them. We are here to hold each other. We are here with I statements, not statements about others or policies or peoples or governments. You're here as you, with how you feel. And there are a lot of feelings happening for all of us right now. And so the same respect and tenderness that you want from others here, we ask for you to show as well. So thank you for that. It's this generosity and kindness that really, really makes SVIVAH what it is. Thank you to Rabbanit Dalia Davis for your beautiful work. With extra gratitude to Emily Bell, who is the partner in crime behind the scenes, and Rabbanit Liz Chein, who are also here with us. Dalia, thank you so much for bringing us here together tonight, and you'll see Dalia's bio in the chat.
Will help us think about our expressions of Jewish identity through Torah and spirituality. We will have the opportunities to hear stories from and go into breakout rooms with Rabbi Amy Wallk, Mollie, Andron, and Chanie, Chein, who will address the topics of the December dilemma, facing fear, and embracing peoplehood. And we will close the evening with Rabbi Emily Meyer, who will guide us through a beautiful artistic experience. I'll share more about these later pieces as the night unfolds, but for now, let's begin with Rabbi Dorothy. Rabbi Dorothy Richman serves as the rabbi of Makor Or, Jewish meditation, and as Rabbi Emerita at Congregation Beth Shalom in San Francisco. She also teaches as a faculty member at the Institute of Jewish Spirituality. She's a soulful leader of tradition and creative ritual, and tonight she is going to share her wisdom about how we can connect spirituality as we consider our expression of Jewish identity in the public and private space at this time. Rabbi Dorothy's full bio is in the chat, and with that, I turn it over to you, Rabbi Dorothy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rabbanit, Dalia, and everyone. I'm thrilled to be in this group, and I'd like to just really, as we broach this whole topic of inside and outside, I'd like to just invite everyone just to check in with their insides. And one way to do that is just invite you just to take a deep inhale and notice that you're doing it. And when you exhale, just let everything out. Everything that's brought you to opening this program up on your computer or your phone. And now just notice that you are breathing. You don't have to take a special breath. Just notice that that's true. We're all alive. We're all breathing one way or the other, whether we're thinking about it or not. So just notice where you are in the breath cycle. And just notice, oh, maybe on the inhale, yeah, I'm still breathing. And on the exhale, just like, here I am, Hineni. Here I am, present with everyone else. And just maybe even allowing yourself in that Hineni, here I am moment, just to allow whatever is actually going on in your life. If there are noises, people trying to get your attention, thoughts about, here on the West Coast, dinner or bedtime, whatever's true for you right now, just allow it to be true. And just allow yourself to be here with whatever you're bringing. I would just like to invite you to notice again just how you're feeling. Whether that's what's your body feeling like right now? What's your energy level right now? Has just noticing your breath changed your experience at all? And feel free in the chat just to mention a word or two about where you are right now, if noticing what's going on inside with you has actually changed your experience. I hope that some of you had the benefit of either being on the earlier program from SVIVAH with the teachers who were teaching about lighting a menorah, a Chanukiah, and how that mitzvah, that commandment to light, is a mitzvah that we do ourselves, and yet the light is supposed to be a publication, a publicization of a miracle. And so it's outward facing. And in my own home, I usually we have a really big picture window on the wall facing the street and of our home. And normally there's a screen there that keeps what's going on in our house private. We don't need everyone to see the chaos in our home, 24/7. And I remember a few weeks ago drawing back that screen and opening up my home, my privacy to the street, and opening it up to a really identifiably Jewish display. And it gave me pause. And I saw earlier in the chat, someone wrote that lighting took on new meaning this year. And I noticed emotionally, it was very true for me as well. On one hand, there was fear. Is it dangerous right now for me to be identifying publicly as a Jew. I saw other Bay Area people here in our community tonight, and in Oakland, California, a large public menorah was destroyed and vandalized. And a lot of us are in places where there have been expressions of anti-Semitism, which are frightening. And so I felt that fear. Is this something I really want to do? Is this something I really want to invite? And yet at the same time, our community here in Berkeley, California, had a communal lighting where we went to a park and members of all different Jewish communities lit together. And it was so lovely to be outside together doing that. And I also want to mention that something really interesting happened before Hanukkah, which is that a neighbor on my street, who I know well enough to wave to and smile at, came to my door with a plate of muffins. And we know each other well enough to wave, but she said, "What's your name again?" Right? And I had to ask her, "What's your name again?" But she brought me a plate of muffins because perhaps she'd seen my Chanukiah out on the street, my menorah lit before, and knew that I was Jewish and Jewishly identified. And after October 7th, she said she'd just been thinking a lot about me and wanted to bring something by. And so I feel that push-pull of, is being Jewish out loud something that's going to put me in danger? Or is it also a way to connect with my community, my Jewish community, but also allow the larger community to connect with me? And it also occurred to me, was this year different in not only lighting the menorah and wondering how other people see it, but when I lit it, not being looked at, but what did I see this year? How much did I need those lights? You might want to reflect on what was going on inside for you this Hanukkah. And now that that festival is over, there are all kinds of different ways that we are either identifying or not identifying out in the public square, right? And some of the most obvious ones are just even looking at the people on the call, head coverings or kippot, or like Rabbanit Dalia shared with us, necklaces, Stars of David, or Hamsas, right? How willing are we to identify ourselves? And this is not a new fear. It occurs to me we're in the Joseph cycle right now in the Torah readings, right? And what happened to Joseph last week, right? When they brought him out from prison and into a high public position, what did they do? They changed his clothes, they changed his haircut, and they gave him a new name, right? They made him look less Jewish, right? And then, of course, there's Esther, right? Who we hear when she comes into the palace, she doesn't make known her people because Mordecai had told her that she should not share that. And so I even wonder, beyond those physical markings that we either wear or don't wear or tuck in at certain moments, what do we just not even share with people in our non-Jewish worlds? What do we just hide without even giving them the opportunity to know us truly in our full humanity and in our full Jewishness? And where are the costs? And what are the sometimes important considerations? And thinking about this program tonight, I found that there was a blog, Why I Am Afraid to Wear My Jewish Star. And there's an Instagram account, why I wear my star. And so these issues are really out there. And how public we may want to be might change day to day and context to context. And I want to suggest that that's fine, that there's no one answer for every situation. And really, I think the key is to listen to what feels right and aligned for you and to follow that voice, and then to see, how did it feel? How did it feel to wear or not wear or tuck in or do differently? But to do that, to check in with ourselves, is already moving away from the outside and the concern with what will they think, what will they see, and our move back to what's important to me, which might be the reason we're wearing that star in the first place. And so I want to share with you briefly a teaching from my teacher, who doesn't look at the outside and try to match her insights there, but who works on really uncovering what's inside and growing it until it spills forth from her. Mm-hmm. So Etty Hillesum was a secular Jewish cosmopolitan living in Amsterdam during the Nazi occupation, and she started keeping a journal in 1941. Sometimes I refer to her as a 20-something Sex in the City Anne Frank. And early in the journal, she's talking about relationships and her career and travel. But you'll see here, she's speaking directly to God. In July 12th, 1942, when she's in Westerbork camp outside of Amsterdam. Dear God, these are anxious times. Tonight, for the first time, I lay in the dark with burning eyes as scene after scene of human suffering passes before me. I shall promise you one thing, God, just one very small thing. I shall never burden my today with cares about my tomorrow, although that takes some practice. Each day is sufficient unto itself. I shall try to help you, God, to stop my strength ebbing away, though I cannot vouch for it in advance. But one thing is becoming increasingly clear to me, that you cannot help us, that we must help you to help ourselves. And that is all we can manage these days, and also all that really matters, that we safeguard that little piece of you, God, in ourselves, and perhaps in others as well. Alas, there doesn't seem to be much you yourself can do about our circumstances, about our lives. Neither do I hold you responsible. You cannot help us, but we must help you defend your dwelling place inside us to the last. There are, it is true, some who even at this late stage are putting their vacuum cleaners and silver forks and spoons in safekeeping instead of guarding you, dear God. And there are those who want to put their bodies in safekeeping, but who are nothing more now than a shelter for 1,000 fears and bitter feelings. And they say, I shan't let them get me into their clutches, but they forget that no one is in their clutches who is in your arms. I'm beginning to feel a little more peaceful, God, thanks to this conversation with you. I shall have many more conversations with you. You are sure to go through lean times with me now. And then, when my faith weakens a little, but believe me, I shall always labor for you and remain faithful to you, and I shall never drive you from my presence. And really, what I want to suggest, whatever your theology is or relationship with God is, where's that inner place that tells you who you are, that reflects back to you what you feel? And how can you grow that? How does that work? What do you know already about that? Is it prayer? Is it yoga? Is it journaling? Is it dancing to your favorite playlist? Is it walking outside without earbuds? I just encourage you to, as Etty later says, working at that quiet space within you, growing it into a great hall so that you can know what feels true on the inside and live it out loud. may we all be blessed to support one another to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Dorothy, for that really gorgeous teaching. And you really kind of tasked us with the mission of trying to figure out what it is for us that feels like that piece that we want to hold on to and we want to let it guide us as we move forward. And now we have the opportunity to really dive into that work. And we're going to do so with a kind of unique way to begin, which is that we're going to start delving in through listening to 3 stories and through the act of storytelling. So one of the things that I have been most struck by since October 7th are all the stories that have been coming out. And through these stories, I've been able to better understand and try to empathize, and really kind of have a more visceral understanding of what people are experiencing. And so right now we have the opportunity to have 3 incredible presenters each share a story related to a particular aspect of this idea of how do we feel we want to live as a Jew in the public arena. After these stories, we'll head into breakout rooms, but I'll share further instructions about how that will work after the stories. Our presenters will share their stories in the following order. First, we will hear from Rabbi Amy Wallk, who will share her insights on how the usual December dilemma, the challenges of being Jewish in a society that is predominantly not and embraces Christmas and other holidays at this time of year. And Rabbi Amy will address how things feel different this year after October 7th. Rabbi Amy Wallk is the rabbi of Temple Beth El in Springfield, Massachusetts. She is a brilliant teacher, a compassionate pastoral spiritual guide, and a mother to a daughter who is currently serving in the IDF. Our second speaker is Chein, who will share her wisdom regarding the challenge of facing fear. Chanie co-founded the Chabad House at Brandeis University. She is the creator of innovative programming, the co-founder of M54, and an educator who seeks to help people form deep connections with Judaism, God, and themselves. Our third speaker is Mollie Andron, who will share her expertise about embracing peoplehood. Mollie is the Senior Program Director of Fellowships at M Square, the Institute for Experiential Education, and is currently running a Pedagogy of Peoplehood Fellowship program. She has experience with formal classroom teaching, nature education, theater education, and collaborative philanthropy education. Please see more detailed bios of all of our speakers, which are posted in the chat. Let's begin with Rabbi Amy's story.
Thank you, Dalia. That was really beautiful. So I wanted to start by saying my oldest daughter got married in August before my youngest daughter went to make Aliyah, and she married into a wonderful family. And her brother-in-law and sister-in-law are an interfaith couple. He's Jewish and his wife is not. And the couple's been coming to our house for Seder for, I don't know, the last 2-3 years. Really lovely people, lovely family. And as we've been spending time with the family, the mom and dad have been saying that they've been thinking a lot about sort of where their Judaism is and how they hold on to it. And the war, October 7th, was kind of a changing moment for them. And I want to say it was a changing moment for a couple of reasons. First of all, it was the war. Secondly, the Jewish mom, Scott's mom, was dying. And so there was this deep sense of wanting to honor Nancy, honor her Torah, honor who she was. So I get a text, and we love these children, and so we sent them a Hanukkah present. So I want to just share this picture with you because I think it's just delicious, right? I think it's just this beautiful picture of 2 beautiful girls. I want you to notice this Christmas tree in the background, Hanukkah bush Christmas tree. And the mom, very funny, said this was the first picture. And just for a laugh, she said, this is what it's like more often. Those of you who have children, you know that they could look great for the picture and then the truth comes out. I share it with you, though, because the conversation I had with the mom of these 2 girls was about the tree and where the tree was in their life and how she was struggling. And she said the couple's been married 12 years or so. And she said they had this bush for forever and it felt fine and comfortable and right and good. And this year, somehow it felt like it was a betrayal of their Judaism, maybe a betrayal of the mother-in-law the Jewish mother who was dying, I suggested maybe a betrayal to the girls in terms of how they wanted to raise them. Like it just felt like she said, we got it like we always do, but this year it didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. And there was a struggle there. And when I probed deeper and I asked a little bit more about, so what's so hard about it? Because the tree looks pretty, and I've got to say it looks pretty. And like and they said, this is a year where we were digging into being Jewish. This is a year where somehow having that sign felt like they weren't standing with their people, felt like maybe Nancy, the mother who was dying, would feel upset, although they said actually Nancy was the one that said, as the non-Jewish woman married her son, said, maybe if you want to have a Hanukkah bush, you have a Hanukkah bush, like trying to ease her in. So I share this story because it was really, to me, this really beautiful exploration of what's happening in my life. And I acknowledge the layer of Nancy dying, but I think that the layer that was at October 7th was this wake up where they were and they said it to me in early October, where they were digging down into their Judaism and saying, I don't want this to compete with something else. Like, I want this to be the primary identity for our children. And I want to figure out how to bring more Judaism into the house and to shift the tree to the side. And again, the non-Jewish woman said to me, and perhaps out the door, and to really magnify the Jewish piece. And I'm very touched by their struggle and by their reflection and by their profound sense of saying this year is different and it's calling something different. And I'm also mindful, this isn't a public, like it's different than Dalia walking with something Jewish, right? There's a different piece, but it is their version of their dilemma is wanting to highlight and focus on the Judaism in a way that I just found very touching, and I wanted to share with this group. So thank you.
Hi. Hi, everyone. It's really special to be here. This is a new kind of space for me. And it's already moving me in some ways. We are at Brandeis University. We've been there for over 2 decades, and we host Shabbat dinners outdoors now. COVID, inspired us. And while we had to hire extra security now, and my senses are heightened, we've carried on with programming that is loud and energetic and spirit-filled. No neighbor, though, has reached out to us down our block, though I have brought them sufganiyot, donuts over Hanukkah. And we support students. They are wearing their necklaces. They are wearing kippot, hanging up flags, defending, engaging with classmates and friends and professors. And in some ways, it feels like they're doing more than me. And though I haven't shared this out loud yet, I saw an alum who had a flag of Israel on their car, and I remarked how wonderful it was. And she said, I'm going to mail you one. And she has mailed me one, and I still have not hung it up. It's still wrapped, waiting for me to put it on my car. And I'm just wondering aloud what that's about. Someone offered me a lawn sign saying we support Israel. I have not picked it up, though there's a tent with 150 students every Friday night in the back of our house, and we're clearly Jewish. And when we removed the tent because of cold weather, and we removed the tarp, I left the chains of Israeli flags that we had hung up inside our tent, almost as a repentance, if I could say it's shuvah. Almost disappointed in myself that I have not identified our home in a way that is minute by minute obvious. And I left it out for a couple of days before we took down the poles. And when we had a communal Chanukiah lighting with a few hundred students on campus, there was a conversation about who to invite to light the menorah. And we reached a point where we were honoring one of the admin staff here who also went back to serve in Gaza and came back for about 2 weeks to be with his family. And we publicly wrote that we are honoring him because he's serving in the IDF. And I hesitated to post that on our Canva because there was chatter that was shown to me, snapshots of conversations online that started accusing Chabad of being racists and supporting those who commit genocide. And I remember asking my husband, maybe we just shouldn't post that on the Canva. And he pushed back, rightfully so. And then when he was about to light the Chanukiah, and he said, he just came back from battle, and he said, we are a few. It literally feels like we are a few, and we are fighting, and we will win, just like we did on Hanukkah. There was not a breath in the room, and a few hundred students were quiet, and I experienced what it means to learn and be humbled in trying to grapple with the fears that I had as a leader internally, and that I'm sharing publicly with you for the first time, and didn't regret at all what we chose to do. And it's teaching me to be stronger. I have not bought a lawn sign. I have not picked it up. I have not put up the Israeli flags in my van, and I am just leaving this with you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Chanie, that was really beautiful. I am Mollie, and I want to just share with you a little bit of a story around a peoplehood moment. I want to say I was in Israel on October 7th with my family. I grew up in Israel, and I was there and wasn't able to come back until October 12th. And when I came back, it took me a while, obviously, to land, both physically and emotionally. And then I came back and realized there was no coming back. We're in a new place. And so adjusting to being here and adjusting to be in this moment has been difficult. I'd say that I've always been a peoplehood Jew. That's sort of the hat that I've always felt. I've always felt this vertical connection, both to ancestors and to other people that I feel like I share this ethno-religious or chosen people who have chosen to be a part of the Jewish people. But now I've been feeling it more in this very existential need. I went one day with my daughter after Hanukkah to this donut shop called Dough. If any of you live in New York and know it, it's a very good donut shop. And everybody who was coming in during that week of Hanukkah was coming in to get donuts filled with this delicious Nutella. Yeah, dough is delicious. And I walked in, and somebody walked in after me, and the only one left was like chalva. And so obviously, like, we looked at each other and we were like, it's not really our choice. Chalva is like sesame paste. So we walked out, but we like locked eyes, and we just like knew that we wanted to keep talking, right? And like we didn't say anything. We just like both were coming in looking for donuts, felt this mutual disappointment in the fact that there was only like chalva donut left, and walked out. And we walked out on the same path and started walking, and just like kept kind of eyeing each other and just started talking. And it turned out that she had grown up in Los Angeles, and like within one block we learned about each other's like entire stories. She'd spent a summer in Israel, and she lived in Park Slope, the neighborhood I live in, for years, but like, and was telling me about all the groups that she had joined since October 7th. And did I know about this group? And and what group was I a part of? And we just like felt this like deep kinship and this deep need to stay in conversation with each other. And my daughter, who's like always like yelling at me for talking and stopping to talk to everybody on the street corner, was like, Ima, like, we have to go. And I was just like, 1 second, Vera, 1 second. And we're just like on the street corner, and we like exchange numbers, knowing we're not going to most likely call each other, but still that need to like prolong that relationship 1 more second, because we felt like in this moment right now that we just have this like mutual, we're just like in it together, we're tethered. And she left and I left, and maybe I'll recognize her again, and maybe I won't recognize her. but definitely this shared kinship that we both were very much craving in that moment.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Amy, Chanie, and Mollie, for those stories. Mollie, your story reminded me that a few days after October 7th, someone hit my car in the Trader Joe's parking lot. And when she came out, she realized that I was Jewish, and I realized that she was Israeli. And instead of talking about the cars, we had like this peoplehood moment, which I was reminded by the donut story. But thank you, all three of you, for those really beautiful and thought-provoking stories. We now have the opportunity to dive deeper with these three wonderful speakers and these three topics. So we're going to go into breakout rooms.
I wanted us to talk a little bit about this question of dilemma. I didn't really think about it as me as talking, but more of all of us kind of thinking and reflecting on this issue. But I wanted to share my own version of the struggle at this time. And to do that, what I want to mention is I was on the committee that edited the new Lev Shalem, which is the siddur that we use in the conservative movement. And when the siddur was edited, I was actually very excited that at the end of Kaddish, we used these words. We included the words, Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. I was excited that the word
and felt to have been in this world for a long time is to think about peoplehood in terms of shared values and visions and a sense of mutual responsibility. And really this tetheredness, this sense of bound. Somebody, there's this kind of classical text that people will share when they talk about peoplehood, which is this idea from the Talmud, which is Kol Yisrael Arevim Ze Lazeh. Israel is responsible, is in connection, is friends, is connected to one another. And I think that within this, we have actually an opportunity to really create like beautifully, radically inclusive spaces, because really it is supposed to be everybody. And so I think that we are in this peoplehood moment. And what I mean by that is that whether we like it or not, sometimes bigger events can cause a grouping.
Experiences were in these three breakout rooms. The conversation that I got to hear was very moving and very vulnerable, and people shared really beautifully. So I hope everybody can really take what they experienced in the last few minutes in the breakout room and bring it into our next experience, because now we're going to shift gears. And we now have the invaluable opportunity to take everything we've thought about and everything we've been feeling for the last hour or for the last 2 months, and allow it to flow through a creative process of art with Rabbi Emily Meyer. When we hear the word art, some of us may question whether we are up for the task, but I assure you, Rabbi Emily is going to guide us in a way that will make this experience accessible to everyone. So I invite you to grab anything that you might have on hand, a pen, a piece of paper, markers if you have, and we're going to immerse ourselves together in this experience, and please do so in whatever way feels right for you. This is process art, so the outcome is not important. That is not the intention. The intention is all about being able to experience and process our thoughts and feelings together. Rabbi Emily is the creator of Doodly Jew, a project designed to spark creativity in Hebrew learning. She is a caring educator and a creative soul, and a beautiful artist. Please read her full bio in the chat, and I'm going to hand off to you now, Emily.
It is so wonderful to be here with all of you tonight, and so wonderful to get to learn with you and to share with you as we go through this learning tonight. It's really just a blessing to be here. In the chat, you can find a source sheet. If you can open that up, Wonderful. I'm going to be sharing very short texts with you tonight. I'm going to trademark that, I think. Very short texts. They're between 1 and 4 Hebrew words long and 1 and 6 or so English words long, because, English. And so the very short, if you open up the source sheet, you'll be able to click the links to get more context, more surrounding of the individual texts, but I'll also be posting them in the chat if you're not able to open up that source sheet. So as Dalia said, if you can grab some art supplies, find a piece of paper, take one out of the recycle bin, that's fine. Find a piece of art paper, find a piece of copy paper, whatever you have available. Find something to draw with, pencil, pen, crayon, doesn't matter. I have my little jar of art of things to draw with, whatever you have handy. Grab something else as well. I'm going to be using my hand. So if you have one of those handy, grab that. If not, if it's uncomfortable for you to trace the outline of your hand with a marker or a pencil, grab something else that's nearby. It can be a circle, it can be any other shape. It's not important. As long as it kind of fits on your paper, that would be helpful. Don't do anything with those yet, because I want to talk to you a little bit about these texts. I'm going to post that source sheet one more time. I brought 12 very short texts, 13 very short texts. I added one after I wrote that note to myself. And I brought these for a few different reasons. The first 3 come from the teaching from Shining Our Light in Times of Anti-Semitism. If you were here for that last week, they came from that session. The first one came from Dr. Laura Shaw Frank, and she talked about the debates between Rabbi Hillel and Shammai, and how both of those rabbis had amazing opinions, worthwhile opinions, and how it could be so that both were true at the same time. Both these and those are true, and it can be respected, can be valued. Even if we agree with one more than another, it doesn't negate the trueness of another opinion. I wanted to also bring the text that Rabbi Yaffa Epstein shared. I thought it was really, really a wonderful idea that during Hanukkah, we might be able to show our Chanukiot out into the world, that we can publicize the mitzvah when possible, and when we can't, that's sufficient. Just lighting the Chanukiah for ourselves is sufficient. That's okay. When we do what we can, it's sufficient. The third text that I'm bringing from that session came from Rabbi Esther Reed, who is working on the campus at Rutgers. She shared a lot about the experiences of the students there, and said that she was connecting with a text from Esther, that perhaps we were created for just such a time, when things seem challenging, when things seem difficult, when we're faced with impossible situations, that perhaps we are there because we are there, because it's important for us to be there. For those of you for whom these texts might not be ones that you're resonating with, I also brought some questions. I brought Ayecha, where are you? The question that God calls out to Adam when we might be feeling embarrassed or worried or guilty for what we are doing. We might call out, Ayecha, where are you? We might call this to ourselves, to our friends, to our neighbors, maybe even to God. And I also brought the question, Imatai, when? This is of course Hillel's final word in the threefold question in Pirkei Avot. If not now, when? When might we face these challenges? When might we show our true selves? Text 6, 7, and 8 are for those of us who might want to resonate with more blessings. So text 6 is the final 2 words of the blessing that we say when we see a multitude of Jewish people. Maybe you're feeling very connected with all of the Jews in the world. Maybe you were with a multitude of Jewish people in Washington, D.C. And this idea is that when we are with so many people, each of us has our own stories, our own secrets that we have, that we hold. We are each individuals, and yet we are stronger together. Text number 7, of course, coming from Genesis, and you shall be a blessing. Each of us on our journeys can be a blessing as we go forth through the world. And then I was really resonating with what Rabbi Dorothy was saying at the very beginning of this, that when we're breathing, even if we don't have the words, every breath can be a blessing. Every breath can be used to praise God or to share our blessings with the world. Texts 9 through 12 come from guiding principles of Jewish tradition. I brought Shema Yisrael, words from the watchword of our faith, that we are listening to one another, that we are attuned to our community at this time. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your fellow as yourself, that we might be living this golden rule, loving our fellows and caring for ourselves at the same time. And then al tifrosh min hatzibor, do not separate yourself from your community. Rabban Gamliel's instruction that we are always a part of our community. Texts 12 and 13 speak to our interconnectedness, our last two texts. Text 12 from our Haggadah on Passover. In each and every generation, we shall look upon ourselves as if we've been freed from slavery. And then text 13, Kol Yisrael Aravim Zeh B'zeh, all Israel is responsible for one another. I brought a lot of texts, and they're very short, hence why I'm trademarking very short texts. Go through these, they're in the chat, they're in your source sheets, and I want you to find one that's connecting with you right now. Short texts, little snippets of words that are just resonating in your heart, maybe that you're calling out, maybe that you're looking to hear from others. What's resonating with you right now? Here's where we're going to get out our art supplies. We're going to create a piece of art using our hand or other object. And we're going to use that text, those words. Of course, my dog is like getting up and walking around right now. I don't know if you can hear the pitter patter of her feet. We're going to use those little texts to fill in some gaps as we do our outlines. I'm showing you some examples just so you have sort of a visual image of what's happening with these. So you can see sort of the direction that we're going. These are all examples that I did. I even did one with English letters, English, Hebrew, wherever you are. If there's another text that's really resonating with you, that's great. Use that one. You don't need to be wedded to the text that I brought. You're going to take your hand or other object and place it on your paper. You're going to take your writing implement and you're going to draw lines around your hand or your shape, and you're going to leave spaces. So I'm going to do a little bit of my outline, leave a gap, do a little bit more. It helps if you're doing your hand to get sort of the tip of your fingers so that you can sort of get more of that shape and the indent on the bottom there. Go around your hand or shape and leave those gaps. You can do this with me. You can also just watch. If you don't feel like getting out your art supplies right now, understand. You can always comment in the chat on those texts as well, which one's resonating with you. Again, leaving gaps as you outline your hand. So it's going to end up looking like this, mostly like a hand, but with gaps. And then you can take one of the texts or more than one of the texts that's connecting with you and add it into these spaces. Maybe you want to take just the word Israel and add it into that space. If it doesn't fit totally, if you need to stretch it out, that's okay. You can do what you need to do. You might need to turn your page as you go and add in another word. Maybe generation. If you're taking one text over and over again, see how it feels to write those words again and again. As I was writing, where are you? Where are you? I thought about all the different things that the you might be. For the next one, maybe I'll take breath. I'm just filling in these gaps with the words that are calling to me right now. The beautiful thing about art is that it doesn't actually matter the status of the artwork when you're finished. It doesn't matter how good the artwork is, it will still have its positive benefits. Participating in creative acts like doing art, even when it doesn't, even regardless of the artistic outcome, lowers your stress levels, lowers your cortisol levels, stimulates your brain, increases functional connectivity in your brain. And I would have that it sparks your soul. I don't have documentation to back that up, but anecdotally, I think that it really connects and calms my soul. And so I hope it is for you as well. Taking these texts and filling in where you can. Maybe a different word from the conversations that you had that sparks your creativity. I want to go back to some of our presenters today. Mollie, would you share one of the texts that's connecting with you that you're bringing into your artwork?
I'm really connecting to Bechol Dor Vador in each and every generation. I think especially just like I've been feeling this real vertical relationship to Jews in places and spaces in the past that I may not have previously, but really feeling it lately.
Rabbi Dorothy, is there a text that is resonating with you?
I really like the Dayo, like it's enough. I'm just feeling like whenever I start to feel like everything's confusion, just to actually remember that there is abundance and that at least for me, right where I am, I'm okay. And I can just ground in that so I have more resource to share.
As you finish writing your pieces, you might want to embellish your outline a little bit. This one I added lines. This one I made sort of flowering pieces. It's inspired by the Chanukiot. This one I just expanded those lines with extra lines. However you want to connect those lines to fill out your artwork. Rabbi Amy, is there a text that's connecting with you right now?
So there were two. I'm going with Kol Yisrael Arvim Zeh Lazeh, right? I'm thinking about this idea of this, as I talked about being called to my people and feeling like bound to them, right? And that for me, this particular is like consuming me in a certain kind of way. But the other piece is this came up in our discussion group because somebody talked about feeling pulled in so many different directions is I thought about Amikai's poem, A Man Doesn't Have Time, when he says Kohelet got it all wrong. Adam b'chayav.
Yeah, absolutely. Chanie, is there a text that you're connecting with right now that's speaking to you?
Thank you, Emily. Yes, Amatai, when, but I'm going to answer it by saying now.
I like that. I'll add that in here. If you have an artwork that you want to share, you can hold it up in your screen and we might see it. If you unspotlight me, we may be able to see some of the other art.
This tension, and I've been grappling with this for a while. And I'm sure that you also did this for the whole gathering and everybody who's here tonight. May your beautiful words and heartfelt support carry us into 2024 and into a time of greater peace. Ariella, the founding director of SVIVAH and the caring visionary who makes all of this possible, is going to close this evening for us.
Earlier, who sponsored tonight's gathering in honor of the Yahrzeit for Father Rabbi Danny Allen. He must have been a really special person if he made someone as amazing as Sarah. So thanks for being here, Sarah.
Yahrzeit. And so if I can just share a few things about him, but it's really about me and about my connection to SVIVAH. So I'm serving now as a member of the board, and tomorrow night is my father's 5th year site. And this evening really connects me to him in a lot of ways. And one of his favorite quotes comes from Rav Avram Yitzchak HaKohen Cook. I'm going to put a link. Oops. I'm going to put a link in the chat just so you know who that is. And what he used to say all the time was, the old you shall make new, and the new you shall make holy. Hayashan yitchadesh v'chadash yitkadesh. And so when I met SVIVAH during the pandemic, and all our lives had shifted and changed, and we were gathering in virtual spaces, we learned to create community wherever we were, even sitting in our own homes. And I said to a family member then that Judaism would need new technologies, not Zoom, but new ways to help us evolve. And I truly believe that SVIVAH is finding this way and providing a roadmap for these new ways of gathering, new ways of connecting our world to ancient Jewish texts that become renewed by our engagement with them, and that we end those texts that make all of this so very holy. SVIVAH's educators think deeply about the kinds of conversations that we can be having, how to bring together voices from across the Jewish communal spectrum to be in conversation, to hold space for people, for emotions, for difference, and for deep vulnerability. I don't know about you, but every time I get to the end of a SVIVAH workshop, I just don't want to leave. This has been especially true for the last 2 months, since October 7th. My heart has been broken and aching. I am as Israeli, I lived in Israel for 20 years, as much as I am an American. Like so many of us, I've been paralyzed, scared, looking to those ancient texts for comfort. I get constant updates about programs, rallies, ways to help, and I struggle to join any of them. Maybe the people there just won't understand what I'm feeling or going through. But you know what's not true? Where that's not true, it's here. It's right here in SVIVAH. I have needed this SVIVAH space these last weeks more than ever, even when I couldn't always join. Knowing that it exists and is filling a space in our community is enough. I'm immensely grateful to SVIVAH and to all of you for being a space where I can come to with my broken heart. And as a board member, I am so incredibly proud of what SVIVAH has done, both since October 7th and the entire year, and frankly, for 5 years and in all the ways it's connected so many people. So I would really like to invite all of you to join me in showing our gratitude to SVIVAH, to its staff, to Ariella, Aliza, Emily, Dalia, Carrie, who work so hard, to the incredible teachers who have offered wisdom and have held us through so many important conversations. As a board member, I'm committed to making sure that SVIVAH has the resources it needs to continue to be a beautiful and important space of learning and community, to always pay educators, to create new ritual and conversation and interpretation of the old, and to make that holy. So I want to say that I have made SVIVAH my primary philanthropic annual gift because this is the Torah I want in the world. So right now, or later tonight, or as you think about your end of year giving, I really want to ask everyone here to take a minute and go to svivah.org/donate and give $1 or $18 or $100 or whatever is meaningful to you, and just to say thank you. Every donation truly makes a difference and helps SVIVAH continue to bring us together for gatherings like this. And to everyone who has already donated, let me say thank you to you. You make it easier. You keep SVIVAH going, and we could not and would not be here without you. So thank you, and thank you for letting me honor my dad in this way.
Sarah, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for all the ways you continue to show up for this beautiful community and all the unseen work you do for all of us. Thank you for doing the thing that is most uncomfortable for me, asking for others from others. But I just want to reiterate my gratitude and to just let you know that what Sarah said is true, that every single gift that comes with those personal notes that I read of gratitude and thanks, I share them with all of our teachers and our staff, and it means the world. This really feels like a community that we're building together. And that was the dream. That was always the vision. Thank you so much to our incredible educators tonight. And Dalia, wow, thank you truly for just building a space that we needed and opening the door. Thank you to all of you for being here. And I promise I'm not going to run away, because I know there's still more and people need more space and want to talk more. I'm going to try to stay unemotional, which is highly unlikely, but looking back on this past year, it's just been an incredible journey, and I just want you guys to keep me company for a hot second. We got together 28 times this year, which is wild. We talked about burnout and standing up for survivors of harm and gendered power imbalance. We celebrated the newest graduating women clergy and Jewish leaders. We talked about deep forgiveness, and we learned Yemima, and we found each other time and again through one of the biggest Jewish traumas of our lifetimes. And I don't take a second of it for granted. And I just want more. So thank you. This is my thank you for being my community. Please stay connected with us in our closed SVIVAH Facebook group. It's a place for us to continue these conversations and keep showing up for each other, sharing news, asking questions, not news, personal news. An article you wrote, a great book you read, that you had a grandkid, or you moved across the country, or you became a tenured professor or something. Let us celebrate you and sit with you and all of the things. We have much more in store for 2024, and we're excited to share it with all of you. No, that's wrong. We need you for it. So it's not sharing it with you. We're excited to explore all of it with you together. I want to give permission to our amazing educators to go, because it's late at night. But for everybody who, with all of our immense gratitude, but I also I'm going to stay around because I love meeting all of you, saying hello, and I know that there's more to discuss and learn from each other. And I'm curious what you guys took away from tonight. What you're hearing from each other. And I just love to say hello and thank you again to everyone who made tonight possible.